What's up, guys? So if you're watching this, you're obviously on the 3DMJ channel, and we have part one on my channel, Brains and Gains, and part two here with Brad Loomis talking about his comeback into lifting after his surgery for his hernia. So as all of my podcasts go, we donate to a charity. In this case, we are donating to St. Jude's, which was the choice of charity by Brad Loomis last time and this time. The funds for this charity go towards research for children with cancer. We have a link below, so if you guys like the charity idea, you're more than welcome to make your own donation. Really hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Check out the rest of their channel and my channel. Subscribe. Hope you enjoy. So how do you, again, 20 years in this, almost 48 years old, injury aside, how do you find ways to still progress, if at all? I think my view on it is, after 20 years, obviously you're not setting giant PRs and you're not saying, well, this year I'm going to put on 5 pounds of muscle, right? So I think you have to probably change how you look at things and find progress almost in other ways. So I guess the first question is, would you agree with that? And secondly is how have you gone about that?
Oh, for sure. I would definitely agree. Yeah. And I'm not even going to say that if a person that's in their upper 40s, early 50s, necessarily has to find other ways to progress, right? I think just anybody that's got a couple of decades worth of weight training in them have to find different ways to progress. Unless you're a mutant, like Bryce Lewis, or Taylor Atwood or one of those guys. But even at that, those guys have to find other ways to progress as well. They can't just possibly just set gym PRs every 3 months or every competition, whatever.
Right.
And so not only in myself but in others, we'll kind of find sometimes RPE PRs, where it's kind of like, well, the last time that I used this weight, it was a solid RPE 10.
Yeah.
Now at this weight, not only was it an RPE 7, I went ahead and did another one.
Yeah.
I got 2 at this instead of 1. So yeah, I'll use RPE a lot as a form of progression, but not so much now, obviously, because I'm still in this kind of rebuilding phase. But prior to having my surgery, I would have RPE, kind of PRs, where it's like the last time I used this load for a single, it was not that fast. Even different movements. Like for a while there, I just had to abandon the low bar squat altogether, and I used the safety bar squat.
Right.
I found progression in the safety bar squat. Safety bar squat's dramatically different than a low bar squat,
Yeah.
So I was finding progression with the safety bar squat. Now I'm finding progression in this trap bar deadlift. You know what I mean? I don't think ever have I been able to do 403 pounds for 10 reps with a trap bar. I certainly have done heavier with the trap bar, but not for very, high reps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of finding progression in that way now. I'm doing different exercises. Like I've never done a landmine press to save, ever.
Yeah.
And when I first started doing a landmine press, it felt awkward as, a monkey humping a football, for a better term. So I'm kind of finding progress in there. I'm not even trying to put up heavier loads. I think I made 1 increase in load, and I just left it alone because every week I get a little bit better at it. I get a little bit more, just feeling like the delt is working as opposed to the tricep, or some other muscle that I probably shouldn't be using, So yeah, those are other ways that I've kind of found to progress is I've just kind of found that the exercises that I used to do, I really can't do for one reason or another, like a military press over my head. I just don't really have the shoulder mobility that I used to. I can still do it, but it's just not as comfortable.
Right.
So Andrew was actually the one that says, well, "Why don't you switch to a landmine press?" And I was like, "Well, duh."
Yeah.
That's a great idea. So yeah, that's kind of how I raise a progression.
Do you find? Because I think that's great, and I think part of the reason you have to do that is, I think it keeps it interesting, for one, to switch it up. I think also in your case, like you mentioned, there's just going to be things that maybe you can't do as much anymore, right? That you have to switch. I wonder sometimes, though, not to be negative, but sometimes I wonder when I hear these things, I'll hear people, this goes back like years ago, seen in like magazines and stuff, people talk about, I progress, I set a PR every workout. And what they really mean is that they're they're doing something different every workout, and so it's a PR in that sense. So it's technically true, but it's like you're not really, it's I don't want to say deceiving, but it's not showing the whole picture. And so I would wonder, and like even when I look back at my own training, I really only made muscle gains when I made like legitimate strength gains. So what I mean is, let's say I was doing, I measured my arms and I was curling, let's say, I don't know, 80 pounds for 10 reps, right? If I were then to switch to, like, let's say that was a barbell curl, and then I switched to dumbbells and I was doing, 35 pounds for 10 reps. And over some amount of weeks, I got that up to 40-pound dumbbells for 10 weeks, or for 10 reps. A lot of that progression was because I switched to a new exercise and I got used to doing it, right? So if I then switched back to the barbell and I was still doing 80 for 10 reps, I could pretty much guarantee that my arms wouldn't have grown because I really wasn't getting truly stronger. I was getting better at the exercise, right? And so that's just my experience with it, is that I could switch exercises from one to the next and make progress on that exercise. But I think a large part of that progress was neurological and getting used to it and not truly gaining muscle. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, in fact, I want to say that I'm pretty sure that Dr. Z out in Florida, Mike Zerdos, for those that don't know who Dr. Z is, he oversaw Eric's PhD. And I think that he presented some very compelling evidence that showed that changing to new exercises that you're not good at, not only is deceiving as far as progression goes, like you showed, or like you just talked about, but that actual like muscle and increases in muscle strength were halted.
Yeah.
And so if we know, okay, well, the body's direct response to weight training is we get stronger, right? A lot of people have that backwards. They think, oh, well, I'm going to train with weights, I'm going to get big muscles. No.
Yeah.
You train with weights, you get stronger. The muscles get bigger as a byproduct. So if we have this evidence that kind of shows, okay, you change to a new exercise, you don't get stronger at that exercise. You get better at it.
Right.
Especially if it's a complex exercise.
Right.
Now, guys like you and I, if we switched from a hammer curl to a bicep curl, how technically different are those exercises? Right. Not, right? Yeah. And so you can get away with that, especially the more advanced that you are as a lifter and the more of a repertoire that you have.
Right. You've already kind of developed that neurological efficiency.
Exactly. But kind of what you're talking about, folks that are fooling themselves into thinking, oh, well, I'm progressing by switching to these different exercises each and every time. Look at my numbers. They're going up every single time. Well, you know what? We kind of know now that you're getting better at that exercise. You're not actually getting stronger at it. You're developing the skill of using a safety bar squat, like I had to kind of switch to, right?
Right.
Or you're developing the skill of doing a different style of deadlift or something like that. Now, obviously, the trump card is injury. If you're injured, you've got to do what you've got to do to keep training, and you're going to have to go to an exercise that doesn't hurt.
Right.
But you can save yourself a lot of time and headache if you make that change and then stick with it. Stick with it. Get good at that exercise, which sometimes, depending on how new you are to that exercise, shoot, that can sometimes take 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I think even Dr. Z's evidence showed that sometimes it can take as long as 6 weeks to actually get good at a complex exercise, to where the increases in load that you're putting on the bar or the increases in volume that you're getting are actual strength increases and not just you getting good at that exercise again. So yeah, that's kind of the moral of the story, is once you decide to go to that exercise, stick with it, get good at that exercise.
Yeah.
And then reap the benefits from it.
Right.
So that was kind of long-winded, I know, but
well,
it's very.
I think it's an important point, because I see a lot of people who you know, I'm not going to name any names, but they'll say year after year, you'll see them on YouTube and stuff where they talk about how much they're progressing. They'll say, this is the biggest I've ever been. And they might have progressed a little bit. I'm not trying to say nobody ever makes progress, but they look at it and they say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I've switched to this exercise. And I think when most people objectively look at them, it's like, well, no, you kind of look like you did years ago. I mean, even some of my friends will see me, saw me recently, and I haven't seen them in like a year or two. And they saw me with my shirt off after a workout, and they're like, oh man, like this is the best you've ever looked. This is like the biggest you've ever been. And I was like, it's really not. Like my measurements are the same, my strength is the same, my weight is the same, everything is the same. I probably just look like I have a good pump and good lighting or something, you know. But like I know if I haven't gotten stronger and my measurements are the same, there really hasn't been that much that's been happening. And, you know, that's just how it is after 15 years. You know, you can fool I mean, I guess it could be, you know, ignorance is bliss. It could be nice to fool yourself into, you know, maybe you'll be happier thinking you're making all this progress. But I have a hard time trying to just like deceive myself like that. You know, if I know it, you know, what I've tried to do is find other reasons to stay involved with it, you know, rather than try to kid myself and think, yeah, man, I probably 5 pounds of muscle this past year. It's like, no, I probably have a very similar amount of muscle as I did 3 or 4 years ago, but try to get some other enjoyment. And I think when you're competing, which I'm not competing, but I think when you compete, it does add another level to it. You know, if you look at Jeff again, how much muscle has Jeff really put on in the last 5, maybe even 10 years? I don't know, but I would imagine it's not a lot, but he's seems to psychologically gotten better at competing. You know, he seems to be enjoying the process more. Maybe he comes in a little bit leaner, and that's a form of progress itself. You know, if it's one more vein that you can see this year, if you're 48 years old and you've been doing this for 25 years, that's progress. You know, that's a new thing. So I think you got to change your view a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we're just kind of generally talking about progress here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so hard to, like you said, to quantify, yes, I am bigger. Yes, I am looking bigger. Yes, I've got bigger muscles, you know. It's really hard to quantify that because at a certain point, you're really not going to get any bigger. But that doesn't mean that you're not growing, you know, new muscle and that you're not changing. You know what I mean? And the way that I kind of, the way that I explain this in kind of as best I can in layman's terms is look at, you know, competitors who have like a good 5 or 10 years in the gym. Okay. And I'm talking bodybuilders that have been training hard for 5 or 10 years. Usually by that time they look great. You know, they probably even won a show or two. But then you take that person's like twin or even that person themselves and tack on another, you know, 10 years on there so that now they've been like 10, 20 years in the gym. They may not look any bigger, but their physique looks dramatically different. They've gone from what usually is kind of like smooth muscle. You know, we call it baby muscle when they've only had about 5 or 10 years in the gym. And then you take that same competitor, you know, 10 more years down the gym, that smooth muscle is marbly and hard and just grainy looking. And that's what we call the old man muscle. You know what I mean? People don't
muscle maturity.
Exactly. It takes, you have to be adding like milligrams and grams of muscle to those muscle bellies in order to go from that baby muscle to that hard grainy muscle. You know what I mean? Because I mean, even Jeff, he posts up pictures all the time of him when he was in his early heyday of competing, and then you know, pictures of him now. And a lot of times, arguably, you look at him, he's roughly the same size, right? Because he's such a sensitive responder to weight training. I mean, that dude just probably started growing muscle the moment that he picked up a 5-pound dumbbell. You know. You look at the quality of that muscle and you look at how hard and grainy that muscle is now, you know, compared to 2002, you know, compared to 95, 94 when he was started, you know, really reap the benefits of those newbie gains. That muscle looks dramatically different. It looks, arguably, it's probably still the same size, maybe a hair bigger. But man, does it look so much different, you know. And
Do you
I can
think
kind of,
that has to do with getting leaner, or it's its own, or something about the muscle quality itself?
I think the muscle quality actually gets denser. I really do. Now, do I have evidence for that, or do we even have evidence for that? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
How can you possibly do that? You know, taking a cross-sectional diameter of the muscle is not going to reveal those minute changes in the quality of muscle. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I was going to say, I can even vouch for myself. At 38 years old, I was pretty lean. I was pretty grainy. You know what I mean? But then when I got that same amount of leanness, you know, about 5 or 6 years later, when I competed at the Natural Olympia, there was a dramatic change in that graininess. You know what I mean? When I was in my late 30s as opposed to my mid 40s. You know what I mean?
Is that a change you see just in contest condition, or do you notice that even in the off season?
No, just contest condition. I'd say you got to be lean, in order to see those kind of changes. You know, and that's the hard part, is because is it really that lean?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
You only get glimpses of that over the course of, you know, a few months when you are in competition shape.
Right. Sure. So, Brad, I'm curious, what are some of your future goals? I mean, again, because now you've been doing it for so long, future goals for powerlifting, I mean, or bodybuilding if you're going to compete again.
Yeah, they're really up in the air right now, to be honest with you, Dave. Really up in the air, because, I mean, I'm going to train until the day I die, because I love to do it. And I go through different phases. Like, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I had my gym, I loved going to my gym and training. You know, it was kind of one of those things where, I don't know, it was just whatever your vision of like the ultimate lifestyle is, the ultimate cool person, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That was my vision back then, you know. And now, you know, it still involves weight training, but I love going back to my weight room, which is like my spare bedroom, put on a movie, and I'll just train for like 3.5 hours, you know, watching a movie. I just love it. And even like right now, with it being tough, knowing how far I have to go to get where I was, I really don't have problems getting back there and doing it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I just love training, and right now I'm kind of enjoying this rebuilding that I'm doing right now. You know, even though right now it's a little bit hard, but you know, obviously one of my big wishes is to go back to nationals and qualify for an international competition again at some point. It's going to be a little bit easier for me, because I'm probably going to end up doing that as I think they call it a grandmaster, somebody that's 50 or older. You know what I mean? I think so. I think masters is 40, so it'd be a grandmaster. Yeah, 50 or older, right? I'd love to be able to do that. You know, qualify for nationals, go to nationals, and then qualify for, you know, I think it's the North American Championships or something like that, where it's like, you know, kind of Canada, United States, and, you know, kind of like Mexico or something like that. But qualify for international competition. I'd love to be able to do that again, regardless of if I exceed my prior peers, you know, in competition.
Now, how do you qualify in that case? You have to win a division, or
no? Usually, to qualify for nationals, you have to get a certain amount of kilos lifted in order to qualify for nationals. So in competition, let's just say that, you know, the qualifying total for 83 kilos or an 83 kilo competitor is 570 kilos. If you do that or more in any, you know, sanctioned competition, you're then qualified for nationals.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Then at nationals, typically what happens is the winner of the gold qualifies for worlds.
Right.
And then the silver winner qualifies for, you know, what it's traditionally been called like the Pan Am Games. I think now they call it the North American, you know, Powerlifting Championships or something like that. And then, of course, if the gold can't make it, you know, or the one time that I did qualify, the gold, the person that won the gold, they failed their drug test.
Oh, really?
So then in that case, the winner of the silver qualified for worlds, and me being the bronze, I qualified for the North American Games.
Oh, cool.
I would love to be able to do that again. You know, I didn't get to go to the North American Games and lift, but the fact that I qualified for it, is pretty badass in my mind.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
And then, you know, I'm never going to say that I'm never going to get on the bodybuilding stage again. No, I'm never going to say that. In all likelihood, I won't. One thing I have noticed in my upper 40s is there's I'm unable to really find that extra gear in both training and dieting.
Yeah.
In training, I mean, I used to be able to just find another gear to where I would take myself mentally to a place to where, you know, somebody's holding a gun to my kid and I got to
Yeah.
get another rep. You know, I used to be able to do that. And man, I don't have that anymore. I don't have
Really?
that kind of fifth gear that I
Mm.
used to. And I remember, you know, when I used to be able to diet, I used to will myself to just survive on 1,200 calories. You know what I mean? 1,500 calories, 1,400 calories, whatever. And even the last time that I dieted, when I dieted for a guest posing in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
I got lean. You know, I got like probably amateur competition, you know, kind of lean.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no desire. I could not will myself to get
Yeah.
leaner than what was basically guest posing competition.
Wow.
So I'll never say that I'm not going to get on the bodybuilding stage again, but it's unlikely, you know, just because I have to probably find a very special time and place to do that. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like I really want to do this for whatever reason that may be. And right now, I don't know. I don't have that reason.
Sure. Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm sure that I can do it, but I'm going to really have to want to do it, you know, and not only just want to do it, but then actually find enjoyment from it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So as far as, I guess, the team of 3DMJ as a whole, do you guys, like, you're obviously very established now, right? I think you guys are probably the most well-known in the natural bodybuilding community. Are there any, I don't know, big things on the horizon for 3DMJ as far as changes, as far as your role in it or in general that are going to be changing? Or are you kind of just happy where everybody's at and just continuing to be top of the game?
You know, what we've kind of talked about in the past, I mean, we still want to keep developing good content, you know, both free and paid for. You know, we just kind of feel like that is what is going to get our sport more popular, more normalized, more like other more popular sports, right? Is it just keep creating this awareness of, you know, better ways to do this, awareness of this. This is really freaking hard, but here's the ways that we can do that. So we're going to keep developing that. But I mean, I'm pretty darn content, you know, with my role right now. I love coaching. I feel like that's my specialty is kind of the one-on-one, you know, or like the one-on-two, one-on-three type of a setting. I feel like that's kind of my forte in a way. And everybody's pretty happy in their role. At least I think they are. I shouldn't probably speak too much out of turn. But Eric is like extremely happy being the science guy that's hopping all over the world, you know, doing conferences and things like that, and still coaching, but, you know, kind of at a fraction of what he used to do, you know.
Right.
Whereas I'm the exact opposite. I'm perfectly content just staying right here at home, going to my kids' football games and training him, training myself in the spare bedroom, and just coaching 50, you know, 60 clients, you know, on average, right?
Yeah.
But what we have talked about in the future is where are we going to go? What's the next? Where are we going to pass 3D muscle journey to? You know what I mean? Whether that be, you know, my son, you know, Jeff's son, you know, or other respectable people or people that, you know, we kind of hold in high esteem, you know. You know, where do we want 3D muscle journey to kind of evolve to when we've kind of stepped away and quote unquote retired or what have you. We have talked about that, and I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I don't think we really have an answer to that. You know what I mean? Just because we are pretty darn happy, you know, with where we're at now.
Which is great. Yeah, I don't. You know, you guys are still. It's still all relatively new, right? I mean, 3DMJ, as far as I'm aware, really blew up around 2011. I know it's kind of started before that, I believe, but that's when I think the YouTube videos got really popular and people started to hear more and more about it. And I'm sure you guys have many years. I'm sure 3DMJ is going to be around a long time, but even you guys, I'm sure you're still going to be very involved for a long time, which I guess would actually probably be my last question is how have you noticed things change since 2011? Like obviously when you look at bodybuilding in like the 90s, I mean, it's dramatically different. But even, from, I think 2011 always sticks out. I think that's when I first saw like a first video with like Eric Helms. I was in college at the time. And it's so much more popular now. And I think a lot of the people who went pro back then might not even be able to go pro nowadays. I mean, it's so much more competitive. It's completely different. I mean, everybody's doing these physique competitions. So how have you noticed it change? And do you think it's been changing for the better?
Yeah, yeah, and that's the ultimate question: is has it changed for the better? Because I kind of debate that myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think physique sports in general seem to be more popular than ever. But there's more categories. You know what I mean? And so when you're talking about the actual categories of like bodybuilding, I actually feel like bodybuilding is dwindling.
Yeah.
Like
that's probably true.
Physique right now is taken over. Yeah. You know, I have officiated a few shows now that the majority of the competitors were bikini and physique.
Yeah.
And it was a rare minority when you talked about bodybuilding and even figure. Women's bodybuilding is almost non-existent right now.
Yeah.
The show that we just went to here recently, the Mayhem, they actually offered free, like you didn't have to pay if you did the women's bodybuilding category. Just because they're trying to get it restarted again, right? Yeah. And it's sad, to be honest with you, Dave, to quote that promoter down there. All these other divisions, and the reason that physique sports is so popular right now is because of bodybuilding. Yeah. Bodybuilding is what put all this other stuff on the map. Right. If it wasn't for bodybuilding and natural bodybuilding specifically, none of this other stuff would really even exist, really.
Right.
And so, yeah, 2000, I would say the peak was like 2013 and 14. I remember novice classes in natural bodybuilding, they used to just line the stage 12, 13, 14 deep, you know?
Yeah.
Open categories, 5 at least per class.
Yeah.
And some usually like the lightweight and the middleweight classes were even more, like 8, 10, 12 per class was common. And like right now, if you show up to a quote unquote pro qualifier, it may not be a pro qualifier. They may not be enough bodybuilders there for you to get your pro card.
So they won't let them get them? Like they won't let them to get the card, basically?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
How many people have to be there? Or is it not set?
Exactly. You need more bodybuilders. You need to have at least 2 classes so that you can go up for an overall. Okay. And it's not like you can have 1 lightweight and 1 heavyweight, not even 2 weights and 2 heavyweights. You got to have like kind of 3, 4 each.
Really? Okay.
And a lot of these smaller, kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, kind of local shows, kind of regional shows, wherever you want to call them, they can't get that kind of pull for bodybuilding. They sure can for physique though.
Yeah, sure.
Find 10 physique competitors, 5 in the short, 5 in the tall.
Yeah.
You're going to find 12 or 15 bikini, 6 in the short, 8 in the tall, something like that, right? Yeah. And so yeah, that's kind of where I've seen it evolve, is that sure, physique sports in general seems to be popular as ever. I mean, everybody is a bikini pro, figure pro, wellness figure pro,
yeah.
body pro, WBFF pro, they're all contenders pros. You see them all the time everywhere, right? But how many of those in the popular realm are actual bodybuilders?
Right, sure.
Plus the really, really good bodybuilders, Ryan Whitaker, Martin Daniels, he just got on Instagram. A lot of really good bodybuilders, you really don't hear much from them.
Yeah.
So
and I think that was more of the traditional bodybuilder mentality, right? Like they're a little bit more isolated, they keep to themselves, day of the show. I mean, until like I think 10 years ago, it was kind of taboo to like show the physique before you got on stage, right? Like it was kind of hidden, and then you come out and you reveal it. Now I think more people probably do it so they can reveal it all the time, right? On Instagram and everything else. So I mean, it's definitely a different culture for sure.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Shoot, I had a thought there that I was gonna talk about, but now I've lost it. That's what happens when you get in your closer to that 50 number in age.
Right. No worries, man. So, where can people find your stuff, man?
Well, we've got 3dmusclejourney.com.
3D Muscle. Okay, yeah.
That's kind of our flagship, right? That's where you go for coaching. That's where you go for our blogs. That's where you go for all of the good, kind of free content. But don't forget about 3DMJ Vault. And you can access 3DMJ Vault through 3dmusclejourney.com, because you're going to find a ton of free content on 3DMJ Vault too. It's just kind of more in a didactic kind of a setting. You're going to sit down, you're going to take a course, you're going to, go through little steps and videos and things like that. So yeah, those are two places that you can find us: 3dmusclejourney.com and then 3dmjvault.com. The YouTube channel is Team 3DMJ. The Instagram page is Team 3DMJ. The Twitter page is Team 3DMJ. Team 3DMJ is kind of our big quote hashtag, I guess you might say.
Right. Yeah.
And then me myself is it's always 3DMJ Coach. Right. Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, it's always 3DMJ Coach. That's usually where I am.
Awesome, man. Thanks for talking, and good luck with the progression.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. God bless.